I personally enjoyed that. And now, Mr. Kwame has introduced this as the innovation platform presentation from the ITU. I have to say right from the word go that we have an innovation department that sits in our Geneva office, and unfortunately the person, Mr. Mo Ibrahim, who is the head of that department, was not able to join us in Ghana. So he had asked me to kindly make this presentation on his behalf. Just to start off the presentation, I think everybody in this room in our various countries would be very familiar with all the policies that we have, especially in communications. You have the Nikis of this world, and I think Ghana also has the clicker. So Ghana also has a policy that has been set for the communications department. So what innovation department in ITU is stressing is that the worst thing you can have is not have vision. You can actually be able to see, but if you're not able to sort of envision and see where you want your countries to end up using the technology that we have, ICTs, then you might as well be blind because you don't have that foresight to plan. Now, in terms of the, in terms of the objective of having this innovation platform, what are we looking for? So we want highly skilled jobs, and I think some of the projects that we worked on yesterday actually brings that out to the fore. We also want to have world-class exports so that our countries can participate more fully in international trade. And we also want to have high industry growth. Because most of our countries are now looking into having more industries. So for example, if you look at Ghana, I was impressed yesterday because some of the products that I used to love when I come here have actually been improved, like the shito. You don't only have it in the jars now, you have it in cans. You know, they have a manufacturing process that is actually canning. So these are sort of the things that we're looking at. The black soap that I used to buy, I was Impressed to see the packaging has changed, and you now have so many varieties that have aloe vera added, oranges added, pineapple added. So I think we're all in our African countries, we're looking to get to that place where we have more industrial services in our countries so that we're able to participate in international trade. So in a nutshell, the innovation department of the ITU and this new product on innovation
Divide, and ITU's digital innovation framework can help you build the right innovation capabilities to nurture digital transformation. Learn how by visiting us at innovation.itu.int or contacting us at innovation@itu.int.
I think what that video tried to show us is that innovation is not just going to happen by itself in our countries. We actually have to take very active steps to be able to get there, especially in this sector and in the attainment of the SDGs. So ITU has sort of come in to fill that gap that we have, especially in the African continent, in terms of helping you through the process. You don't have to do it alone. And as I go through the presentation, you'll find some of the products that we have come up with just to help you in this process of establishing your innovative ecosystem in your countries. So in terms of the ecosystem, who are the stakeholders that need to participate in that ecosystem? You have the public sector, of course. You have the private sector. You have our financial institutions. You have our entrepreneurs and their know-how, their technical know-how. You have academia, which also has a role to play. So we need to stress this. It's not just the ICT sitting in a corner over a computer and trying to build this. It has to be inclusive, and it has to be cross-sectoral in that you'll have to work with all of these different stakeholders if you want your innovation ecosystem to be as impactful as it can be at national level. Now, this is just what I've been saying about the ecosystem. So here we have an ITU definition of what an innovative ecosystem is, and you would see that it is a merge of different stakeholders, different systems, organizations, stakeholders that come from the multiple sectors that come together, play together, and this is the ITU innovation ecosystem definition that you'll find on the website that we have pointed you to. Now, this differs, it's a paradigm shift, really, from business as usual. Because if we remember how we used to work in our African countries, we worked, under a command system. It was like a sort of top-down, going to the base. And what we found is that we also worked in silos. So most of the time, what the health department is doing, the education department is totally unaware of, as the agricultural department is also unaware of. So we had all these silos both in our public and our private sectors. Now, the innovation ecosystem is a paradigm shift because we're saying all of those stakeholders now need to come together to look at innovative solutions in terms of how we are going to deliver a series of services, but with the impact that we need. So immediately I say that you will see how when you interlace health, agriculture, education, and you have them all come together to look at a sort of system to deliver services, you would realize how impactful it would be. And just quickly, I'll give an example. I've worked in Rwanda under the HIPSA project, And when I was there and we were developing their cybersecurity strategy, we had to look at what legislations they have in place, but we also had to look at what infrastructure they had in place. And one thing I was really impressed with was the database that they have of all their citizens in Rwanda. And on this database, they had all the sort of essential information about their citizens. Now, what this authority that manages the database was doing was to actually now work with service industries in the country to try to use the information that they already had on the database. So at the time when I was there was about 10 million registered citizens on the database, and they were using it to look at things like your medical records, things like your tax identification, you know. And I think in African countries, we all have this experience of where you go to get your driver's license. It's a different set of identity that is required. You want to get your passport is a separate issue. You want to register births or a death certificate, it's a separate issue. But then I saw for the first time in Africa a database that had all this information sitting on it and using it across all these sectors to try to take care of all these different issues. Of course, one of the challenges you'll have with that is the data. It's very sensitive. You have a lot of data about these individuals sitting on your system. So how are you treating that data? And that was part of the discussion I was having with them on data protection. What are the parameters? What can you use? What can you disclose without the consent of the individual, and what needs specific consent from the individual in order to do that? So we'll move away from the command system, and the innovative ecosystem encourages a more integrated system. So when we talk of the innovative ecosystem, we are talking about a team of teams. So you don't have the command and the silos anymore, but you have all those intersecting in the middle in the ICT ecosystem sort of team that actually look at all these issues in a holistic manner to have more impact. So on this slide, I just have some of the comprehensive enablers of innovation. So you have the pillars on the top, and then you have the vision, the strategy, and I think in another slide, I'll actually try to allocate responsibility for the development of some of these, and you'll be able to see where we expect more participation from the public sector in terms of development of the policies, of the strategies. So you have the pillars. So the maturity model of an innovative system, and I'm trying to show you, for example, the public sector, what should be our expectation under this system from the public sector. And you have the development of the vision, of the strategy. You have the tax support, of course, that would be needed. You have things like public procurement and the trade policies. And these would be what we would expect our public sectors to actually formalize. Of course, there'll be consultation with all the stakeholders, but they'll have to come up and endorse the policies and then pass them so that we could use them. Then you have the entrepreneurs, the role that they play, and we actually go through a cycle of the pre-ideation stage, where you've not even started thinking about the idea of what it is you want to work on that is going to impact all your citizens, and you go right up to the point where it's actually matured. You've actually put it through the ideas, you've conceptualized, you've sort of formed something, you've bounced it off a few people, and you've actually put it into operation, and it becomes either a working business. Of course, you'll see that valley of debt, because I think a lot of people around this room would have had experience to show you that with all the startups, they go through this critical stage called the valley of debt, where they either able to stand on their own 2 feet and actually be able to be matured and robust in the economy, or they die. So I think also what the innovative ecosystem does is that if you have it in place, you would have thought of about all these different variables that can negatively impact, for example, an SME in this valley of debt. And of course, because you've thought about it, you would have taken certain steps to try to sort of protect those industries in that. And what that does is that at the end of the day, you end up having, more startups that actually sort of mature. Impact in terms of economic activity. We still believe that there are certain things that government should not do. Government is not in the business of doing business, but is there to set up an enabling environment and to set the policies and the strategies. It has to be user-centric. It has to be led by the private sector. And of course, with that, you would expect there would be efficient resource utilization. You would expect that the examples that you actually use, the case studies and the pilots that you do are replicable, that you could now take the learning that you have done and actually replicate it in other services and other sectors. And of course, there has to be this common understanding, and I think that is what ITU is encouraging, in that when you actually go through this process and you actually sit around a table to go through this process and try to build this ecosystem, you realize that you end up having all your stakeholders have this common understanding and this common language. Everybody should have skin in the game, as Mo would say. All these stakeholders that you're putting together have to have some say, and they have to have something that they're risking in the process. So you have to put your money where your mouth is, and as a stakeholder, you need to be committed and have some skin so that you follow the process, because you know that if there's something wrong, you're gonna get burnt as well, because you have a, and of course the stability issue. So, what are the architecture of the ITU innovation platform that we've spoken about? And in the first video, we've also referred you to a space in our website of the ITU where you could actually go in there and look at some of the tools that we have. So we have we sort of do an assessment, country assessment, to look at what are your digital innovation challenges. And then we build a toolkit, and the toolkit is sort of supported on what we consider as good practices, international best practices. And then we also are encourage strategic alliances. We all realize that, you know, you can't do it alone. So you need to have strategic alliances in terms, and I come to another example. I think it was last week when I was in my office in Addis Ababa, and I was reading about Rwanda rolling out Volkswagens. They've done a strategic alliance where that company is now in Rwanda, and they have an industrial plant where these vehicles are being assembled there and rolled out. So we can just imagine how many Rwandese are being employed in those plants. And of course, these cars are going to end up being cheaper because you don't have to deal with shipment from some port in Europe or Japan over to Africa. You don't have to deal with customs, and I think we all know how difficult it can be sometimes just to clear goods at the custom. You don't have to deal with all of those. So I think these are, that's an example of the strategy. I should decide that, hey guys, we're doing very well, but we still can use some help, or we can sort of expose ourselves to more knowledge on how to make greater impact, how to progress. We can always have this innovation workshop. Then you have the digital innovation profile, and the ITU would actually zoom into a country and look at what you have and be able to do our own assessment and give you your profile as a country as to what is your innovation profile. And I think what this product enables us to do is to clearly sort of map out and be able to point you and highlight the gaps that you may have, so that you could now go back to the drawing board and have a cross-section of your stakeholders look at this, walk through this to sort of fill those gaps. The ecosystem review is something that is similar to the country profile that we do, because the ecosystem would also show you, have you actually given, remember the first slide, the worst thing is having vision but not, you know, being able to see but not having any vision and knowing where you want to end up. So an ecosystem review would be able to tell you, you're doing okay, but you're missing this and you're missing that, or maybe this is something that you need to augment or you need to work on. I'm being showed the time. Of course, the Innovation Project Advisory and the Innovation Dialogues. These are just some of the products that our innovation platform has. The core products, this slide just goes into more details. So because I'm going out of time, I won't actually sort of spend a lot of time. It's very self-explanatory, but it tells you what we can do at the regional level and also what is possible from ITU assistance, technical assistance to your countries at the national level, the country review, the ecosystem review, digital innovation platform, like I've said in the last slide. Now, these are some of our recent products. We've done work in innovation, the creation of innovation ecosystems. We've actually worked with Macedonia, we've worked with Moldova, we've worked with Serbia, but as you can see, these are a lot of countries that are in Europe. And I think the reason being, ITU being in Geneva, these countries are closer, they're able to follow some of the new products that we're having, and they're able to quickly jump on board and say, hey, we need that, can you come? So as you can see, these are the countries we've done so far in Europe. But we are saying African continent, actually, it's behind in terms of the digital divide and all that. And they should find this product even more relevant than some of these European countries that I've pointed out. So if you follow, I think these slides will be available to everyone. So if you click on some of these products, you'll be able to go to the innovation website to have more information. Like, for example, the first product we have is actually translated in all the 6 languages of the ITU, so you'll be able to look at them in French. There's another video, and my IT support at the back is going to play that.
ITU's innovation platform. To address the growing digital innovation divide, there is a need to understand the actions of all ICT innovation ecosystem stakeholders in supporting innovation and entrepreneurship, from research through startup creation and ultimately jobs from small and medium companies as well as high growth firms in an economy. Therefore, accelerating digital transformation requires actively vibrant ICT innovation ecosystems inclusive of all sectors. And that is why ITU offers its membership an innovation platform to help build ICT-enabled economies. How? With context-specific analysis, national and regional stakeholders' empowerment, and focus on systemic impact, ITU's innovation platform can assist member states in building their digital innovation capabilities. Using the ITU innovation platform, membership can have access to products and services, including toolkits, to address the challenges faced in digital transformation through strategies, policies and specific programs design and implementation. ITU's innovation platform aims to support membership in maximizing opportunities in accelerating digital transformation through ITU's innovation platform. Engage with ITU to strengthen global ICT innovation ecosystems that create sustained economic growth. Learn how by visiting us at innovation.itu.int or innovation@itu.int.
Exactly. Thank you. So, in a continent where we have over 50 countries, as you can see in the last video, we've only actually done any innovation ecosystem review in 3 countries: Botswana, Rwanda, and Kenya. And I think a lot of our other countries can also benefit from this exercise, from actually sitting down and having our countries run through this. So the ITU points of differences, of course, we'll show you what is sustainable and what is not sustainable, and where you have to strike that balance, where it is you need to be just to be able to get that right. And if you all remember, as regulators, 15 years ago, the toolkit that ITU had developed on regulation then was so impactful in all of our countries, because then we were just setting up our new regulators, with Ghana's regulator being 20 years now. So I expect that the toolkit for the innovative ecosystem is even going to be more impactful. So again, the process, I won't spend a lot of time on this. It just walks you through the pre-ideation stage, when you actually start thinking about it, and all the stakeholders that need to be brought on board, and what process you follow to actually get there. We took an example of the African Regional Initiative 1. And if you remember, I think one of the issues that came up on the project, one of the projects that were suggested under that regional initiative, is the need to have this ecosystem developed. So to be a champion in your country, and I think there's no better place than the national regulatory authorities to actually champion this and just show the rest of the country how impactful an innovative ecosystem that uses ICT could be in all sectors of our life. And that is, I know my gentlemen were getting panicky with the time, and that is the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aida. You have to sit as this session continues. Thank you very much for the presentation. So in brief, we have about 40 minutes to go. And that was a presentation from the ITU on the innovation dialogue process. And as we realize, not any of the African countries has taken advantage of the framework, and it is time for the 44 countries to take advantage of it in this time. But even without it, our countries have various experiences, and we have 4 of them to present. So I will invite Mr. Shangirai from Zimbabwe, Mr. Aziz Touare from La Côte d'Ivoire, Ms. Rahel Alwala from Kenya, and Mr. Desmond Boateng to join us to share their experiences from their countries. Let's welcome them with a round of applause. Great. So, as La Côte d'Ivoire is joining in, I will invite Mr. Marufu from Zimbabwe to present on the country experience from Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much, Kwame. Hello. Thank you very much, Kwame. From Zimbabwe, my name is Marufu, and I work for Potras, and I will go through our innovation drive that was launched very recently. Right, my presentation overview will start with the overview of the innovation drive, the main objective of the innovation drive, the innovation areas of funded, the framework and operating model, and the current status of the innovation drive in Zimbabwe. The Zimbabwe ICT Innovation Drive was set up by the Ministry of ICT and Cybersecurity in partnership with the stakeholders in the post and telecommunication sector. The partners includes operators, the government itself, the regulator, and other ICT institutions, also including the academia. There are quite a number of telecommunication sectors that were involved in the setting up of the innovation drive. The drive is administered by the Post and Telecommunications Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe, which is POTRAS, through the Universal Services Fund. This is a fund that is designed to assist in underserved areas of provision of telecommunication portals in the postal services, and also providing funding for the innovation drive. The establishment and use of the Universal Service Fund is provided for in the Postal and Telecommunications Act. In terms of the Act, POTRAS is the trustee and the manager of the fund. The innovation drive was actually launched this year on the 14th of March 2018. In terms of the main objectives of the innovation fund, they are to increase ICT research and development uptake by young innovators and research institutions in Zimbabwe, and also to increase the total number of homegrown ICT applications and create employment. It also aims to promote a culture of ICT innovation and development among Zimbabwean youth. Also to establish innovation hubs within the country and to provide business and entrepreneurial training to young innovators within the country. Actually, the innovation drive is expected to equip the youth with the necessary funding skills and resources that will make it possible for them to create employment. I think employment creation is one of the government's drive, and the innovation drive will also assist in creating employment in the telecommunication sector. In terms of the innovation areas that are funded by this innovation fund that was established by POTRAS, it actually funds telecommunications-based applications, ICT software applications, if possible, ICT hardware, applications for postal and courier services, intellectual property rights registration for approved ICT innovations, and also assist in the establishment of innovation hubs. Our innovation fund targets is open to all Zimbabweans who are benefiting, and these are drawn from schools, universities, polytechnics, school leavers are included, the unemployed, the underprivileged, graduates, and innovation hubs that are already established, maybe in the private sector. In terms of the legal framework and the operating model, the Post and Telecommunications Act, which is our main act, mandates portals to manage the USF fund. And one of the objectives of the USF fund is to promote and fund research and development in the sector. So portals, the operating model for the innovation drive in May 2017. Our innovation drive is very young. At the present moment, we are working on a model. The framework will be coming later, but the model will assist us in the management of the operation of the innovation drive. The Universal Service Fund Board of Trustees is responsible for the overall supervision of the innovation drive and is the decision-making authority. It is responsible for setting up the strategies for the innovation drive, setting out targets and the budgets for the innovation drive. The Board of Trustees makes all strategic decisions concerning innovation projects. So all the strategic decisions are made by the innovation drive Board of Trustees. And then under the Board of Trustees, we have the head of innovation who is responsible for the day-to-day running of the drive and reports to the portals management through the portals Director General. The innovation drive itself, under the head, we've got what is known as the innovation drive adjudicating team, which is responsible for the receiving and vetting applications. The innovation drive adjudication team carry out credit assessments. They also do due diligence checks, determining the terms of the loan and prepare the offer letters in consultation with the USF Board of Trustees. The innovation drive that we set in Zimbabwe is actually a revolving fund. Hence, innovators will get loans and are repayable within a specified period. The minimum is 36 months. It can be more, but most of these young innovators will not have source of money, so we give them plenty of time so that they can actually go through the cycle of the project. In terms of this innovation drive, we also give them a grace period of maybe 6 to 12 months, whereby they can actually utilize the monies without any repayments. In the event that you purchase equipment using the innovation funds and maybe you've got challenges in finishing the project, then the equipment can be possessed by the innovation fund and used for other activities. And then disbursement of funds, according to this operating model, is made through appointed financial institutions. Since the current status of the innovation drive in Zimbabwe, since the fund was launched on 14 March 2018, so far we've managed to have 6 innovators getting the fund. And then the disbursements of the fund is being made in batches in line with the agreed funding modality or funding model. More proposals are being received and evaluated as they come, and successful candidates are announced on a monthly basis. Proposals are submitted online or directly to the Innovation Drive adjudication team. It's very common. And also one of the challenges that we have is lack of understanding of the purpose of the fund. Some people think the fund is for purposes of funding business ventures. And there's also a lack of innovation hubs in Zimbabwe set by the government, which is a very big challenge. There's also a lack of facilities to test some innovations. Let's say the innovation team is evaluated in innovation. They need to test it. So these facilities are not readily available, and this is one of the challenges that we are having. And also monitoring and evaluation of innovation project. Since it's still very new and the technical expertise is still very fresh, we are working very hard so that the monitoring and evaluation of the project is done according to international best practice. So this is one of the challenges that we need to address. Our innovation drive is a website which is innovationdrive.gov.zw. So if you want to access the innovation drive, you can actually access it on this email, on this web address. And we've also got an email which is innovationdrive@portras.gov.zw. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shengai Marufu, for the experience you've shared with us from Zimbabwe, a country that has a literacy rate of over 90% of the population. So it's not surprising that they have millions of people applying for the innovation facility, which is being funded by their Universal Service Fund. And just as they launched this project in March, they already have 6 innovators on, and he shared the system and the structure of the innovation drive. You may be putting down your questions, as there will be time for you to be able to put some questions from you to the panelists. I move on and I invite La Côte d'Ivoire to present to us what is happening in Côte d'Ivoire. Mr. Aziz Authoriy. Let's welcome him in applause.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Je me présente. Je suis Abdoulaziz Traoré, chef de service projet et innovation numérique. À la session d'entrée, la chef de délégation, Madame Regina Bessou, a présenté les différents axes du ministère de l'économie numérique et de la Poste. Nous allons parler aujourd'hui des axes d'innovation numérique. Pour nous, l'innovation, c'est quoi? L'innovation, c'est d'apporter quelque chose pour améliorer le bien-être des populations. L'innovation, c'est d'apporter quelque chose qui va réduire le taux de chômage, qui va réduire la pauvreté et qui va réduire l'inalphabétisation de nos populations. Donc, nous avons divisé les différentes innovations que le gouvernement ivoirien a réalisées dans différents secteurs. Le premier secteur, dans le domaine de l'éducation, le gouvernement ivoirien a lancé un projet qu'on appelle université virtuelle. Ce projet vise à faire quoi? Ce projet vise à interconnecter toutes les universités du pays et à permettre aux étudiants de pouvoir se former à distance. C'est un peu la cible, c'est les étudiants. C'est que le gouvernement ivoirien a mis comme priorité la formation des étudiants. Et ensuite, le deuxième projet, qui est un projet phare, et nous, la Côte d'Ivoire, nous sommes fiers de cela, c'est une application mobile qu'on appelle Lucie. Lucie, c'est une application dans le domaine de l'éducation. Lucie veut dire quoi? Lucie, ça veut dire leçon unique conçue pour l'innovation de l'enseignement. Ça veut dire quoi? Nos populations, ne sachant ni lire, écrire, les vieilles personnes peuvent, à partir d'une ardoise, se former, apprendre à lire, à écrire et à compter. Et il est important de signifier que la Côte d'Ivoire a remporté le prix RFI Challenge App Afrique 2017. Il est important d'applaudir cela. Le deuxième projet d'innovation numérique dans le domaine de l'éducation qu'on a lancé, qui est actuellement en vision, on appelle ça le contenu éducatif, un type de MOOC. MOOC veut dire quoi? Massive Open Online Courses. Ce projet vise à faire quoi? Il s'agira de proposer des cours montés par des écoles, des universités, des centres de formation et des structures étatiques qui seront accessibles partout. Partout. Ça veut dire quoi? Tu es en Côte d'Ivoire. Même si tu n'as pas de data, tu peux aller sur cette plateforme-là te former. Un mécanicien étant au nord du pays, il peut apprendre à démonter une voiture. Il n'a pas d'Internet sur ton téléphone, il n'a pas la 3G. Cette plateforme nous permet de former ces populations à distance. Un jeune étudiant qui n'a pas d'argent pour s'acheter des passes, il peut à distance prendre des cours sur cette plateforme-là. Donc ce projet-là en vision, c'est un projet qu'on va réaliser dans le court terme. Le quatrième projet pour nous, c'est l'affectation en ligne. L'affectation en ligne a été lancée il y a 3 mois de cela, qui permet aux parents d'élèves de pouvoir eux-mêmes affecter leurs élèves en ligne, les élèves de 6e. Et dans tout le domaine éducatif, le quatrième projet qui est important, qui touche la femme, le président de la République ivoirienne a mis la promotion du genre féminin dans son programme de gouvernement. Cette application est appelée Zéro grossesse indésirée. C'est une plateforme qui permet à la femme de recevoir des notifications sur son cycle menstruel. Lorsqu'elle a de mauvaises périodes, elle reçoit des notifications sur son cycle menstruel. Les élèves, c'est-à-dire que partant des femmes de 12 à la ménopause. Aujourd'hui, cette plateforme enregistre près de 10 000 filles ivoiriennes qui sont connectées à cette plateforme. Ils savent gérer la cible. La cible, c'est les femmes et les jeunes filles. On rentre maintenant dans le côté administration publique. Nous avons lancé une plateforme qu'on appelle le SIGFIRE qui permet de gérer l'ensemble des fonctionnaires de l'État. Maintenant, dans le secteur de l'environnement, il y a une plateforme que l'État ivoirien a lancée qui s'appelle soscitoyen.ci. C'est quoi? Dans mon quartier, j'ai une voie qui est gâtée là, ou bien il y a une voiture qui a cassé un poteau électrique, par exemple. Je vais sur cette plateforme-là, je signale sur la plateforme pour dire, dans tel quartier, il y a un plan d'urbanisation qui est gâté ici. L'État, tout le sud de l'État prend ce problème et règle ce problème-là. C'est une plateforme pour signaler à travers ton téléphone, partout où tu es avec ton téléphone, signaler des incidents sur le territoire national. Maintenant, on rentre dans tout ce qui est en lien 2 minutes. Bon, 2 minutes. On va rentrer maintenant dans le projet, dans le domaine de la santé. Nous avons lancé une plateforme qui a été récompensée au Maroc le 23 mars 2018, le projet e-banque des sang. Ce projet, ça vise à permettre à tous les établissements publics, les CHU, les cliniques, à permettre d'avoir une visibilité sur la quantité de sang disponible en stock pour pouvoir sauver les femmes enceintes, les personnes malades. Ce projet a été récompensé au Maroc. Voilà, c'est un projet qui est très important pour la Côte d'Ivoire. Et toujours dans le domaine de la santé, on a lancé le projet e-vaccination qui permet aux populations de suivre comment on appelle là, leur vaccin. Lorsque tu as un vaccin de méningite, par exemple, tu reçois un SMS sur ton téléphone pour te dire le 15 mars, tu dois te vacciner, par exemple, à la méningite, ta fille doit se vacciner à la méningite. Donc, ça permet au gouvernement d'assurer la santé et le bien-être de nos populations. Et enfin, on va parler de VITIB. VITIB, qui est le village des technologies et de la technologie de l'information et de la biotechnologie de Bassam. Là-bas, nous avons des laboratoires de tests d'ADN humain qui sont disponibles à VITIB. C'est un centre d'incubateur de projets d'innovation. Nous avons une unité d'assemblage d'ordinateurs. C'est-à-dire en Côte d'Ivoire, maintenant, nous sommes lancés des projets pour assembler des ordinateurs portables. Voilà, je souhaite m'arrêter là comme mon temps est arrivé. C'est ici par les mails bien organisé les différentes innovations qu'on a en Côte d'Ivoire. Pour plus de détails, ces projets sont disponibles. Mes collaborateurs sont là. La chef de délégation est là. Vous pourrez nous approcher pour avoir plus de détails. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, Monsieur Authoriy. Thank you very much. So that was the presentation on the country experience in Cote d'Ivoire, right from systems to applications as presenters. I will quickly invite Richard Awala from Kenya to present to us what is happening in Kenya. Let's welcome her.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all fine. After a very lively evening yesterday, I would like to thank NCA for hosting us and actually congratulate them for the very good work. A pace setter, I would say, in Africa in many things. Going straight into the presentation, before I begin, let me say that Kenya is a country that is known for innovation. I'm sure you also have heard of M-Pesa. Is there anybody who hasn't heard of M-Pesa? This is a digital or mobile money innovation that has grown in very astronomical ways. And people are using it in all manner of transactions. Banks have also launched on those kinds of innovations. But we cannot say that we have actually achieved with that because we as Kenya are facing a lot of challenges. Maybe the innovations preceded the structures and what that could help us even advance further. We have had other initiatives to build innovation funds, but all these efforts have not really had the impact that we would want. So what I'm going to present to you is not really what we have achieved, but what we are looking forward to be able to strengthen the innovation ecosystem in Kenya. And what I'll present has to do with the country review that was done by ITU. I think Ida did mention in her presentation, to give you a snapshot or an analysis of what the innovation ecosystem in Kenya looks like today. So going right ahead, I've already mentioned in passing the analysis, the objective and why we have this country review taking place. But the main aim is to be able to strengthen our ability to integrate ICT innovation in the national development agenda, because we have realized that if we leverage on ICTs, then I think we will go a lot further than where we are today. This review that has been developed, we actually haven't launched it because it's in the final stages, is meant to address the stakeholders. And stakeholders here mean everybody who is able to contribute to ICT innovation development in Kenya, so that we can have a more coherent approach as a country, as opposed to ad hoc initiatives. And those stakeholders we're talking about include policymakers who actually set the pace for us through the policies that they make. The ICT entrepreneurs themselves, we have a lot of them in Kenya. We have a lot of incubation centers, acceleration centers, startups. But as it were, this is really driven by different people and in very disparate efforts, which are not bringing much fruit. Of course, the researchers, financiers who are key in providing the financial resources required for entrepreneurs, and many other organizations that also support this. So the ecosystem that we are looking at, or that has been reviewed, includes the vision and strategy that we have, an analysis of the infrastructure and programs that are there, who are these champions of innovation, what are the kind of capital resources that we have, the market and the networks that are available to these innovations, the culture and communities, and also now without overemphasizing the policy and strategies that are there. So in Kenya, what kind of vision do we have for innovation. ICT, as it were today, is actually taken as a very important pillar in our national agenda, and this is in fact embedded in what we call the Vision 2030, which is the government economic blueprint, and as well as the Big Four agenda, which is the current agenda for the incumbent government to be able to push development forward. ICT in both blueprints is regarded as a pillar or an enabler for all the sectors. And so what government is looking at is to ensure that ICT is integrated in terms of use in all sectors. For those of you who may be familiar with the Kenyan public sector governance system, we have launched a lot of applications to be able to help citizens to access public services online, and that has worked so well, and it's just an indicator of the vision that government has for ICT. As well as that, much as we have this vision, we still don't have a very, very clear roadmap on how to, and strategies on how to engage in the ICT innovation ecosystem. And as mentioned, we have a lot of work going on, but it is not a very coordinated. And at the same time, we don't have a comprehensive framework, which is what we require to be able to leapfrog forward. In terms of infrastructure and programs, we have had infrastructure. The mobile penetration today in Kenya, we're talking about 93%. And it's continuing to grow. And not only mobile, even the government has a program to provide devices like laptops to school kids. Within the authority, under the Universal Service Fund, we supplying not only computers, but also internet access, connectivity to, we're targeting to connect all the schools in order to ensure that, ICTs can be embedded both in, at the learning stage, and also that they can use this to be able to advance themselves. But that said, also the quality of this infrastructure is concentrated within urban areas, and that's why we are looking at going into the rural areas to provide this connectivity. The development of software infrastructure and also related programs is there. We have a lot of innovators, as I have mentioned, but again, this has been limited to urban areas. If you look at some of the incubation centers, I'm sure a lot of you know the ICT hubs that we have, are mostly in the urban areas. When you go to the rural areas, really the rural folks don't know about this. And so we'd like to spread this so that the impact can even be bigger. And there are also a lot of digital clusters, but these are loosely forming because they don't have the requisite guidance and support to be able to grow. And this guidance and support certainly would come if we have policies and a very structured way of implementation. In terms of talent and champions, we have the skill, but it is not adequate. The skill is very limited to the few who have the resources and platforms where they can be able to advance the skills. So there are a lot of gaps in the technical skills, particularly those that are advanced when it comes to code. Can be able to boost the digital literacy in primary schools and other lower levels, even as students go. But of course, from the analysis, we also realize that we need to relook at our curriculum and create centers of excellence even in the higher institutions so that we can be able to integrate ICT into them. And this skill gaps is actually big because can even hopefully be used in the country, but also exported outward. We have not been able to reach that stage because of a lack of this coordination internally. When it comes to capital and resources, this is a real problem, and I'm sure it is not only for Kenya, but also for many other countries within Africa. Access to capital is very limited. Already, farms like small enterprises are having difficulties in accessing capital because of they need the collateral and all, but for startups, it's even much more difficult because they don't have anything that they can show. Sometimes it's hard for people to believe that the innovations can actually thrive and grow into full-blown products or be scaled. So that kind of impediment has made innovations to stagnate. And the fact that the research funding is also still negligible in Kenya, it's not easy for the technical knowledge to be commercialized, and particularly also in where research is required. So one of the things we're looking at is to attract risk capital, because of course, they've perceived and risks, even from investor point of view, are there. But at the same time, this is what will actually make the innovations leapfrog. When it comes to market and networks, there is sufficient domestic market, we would say, because some of these innovations have already picked up because they've been scaled up and are being used in the market. I can give you an example of one where you can be able to insert I'm not too sure it's called a catheter, into, say, a cow, for you to be able to trace the cows for the nomadic areas where they have to travel for a long distance to get grass to eat or what. But at the same time, there also are challenges when it comes to transparency and fairness in procurement for government or public entities. You know that if a product has not been really tested, it's very difficult for those people to get into the procurement system and get the tenders and be able to use that to, or to leverage on that to be able to market their product. And these are some of the areas where the government would be looking at to see that even the young entrepreneurs can be given that opportunity. Just to mention, in Kenya at the moment, we have a 30% policy that within every public procurement entity, you have to give 30% of the total procurement value to youth, women, and people with disabilities. And this is a deliberate effort by government to be able to have the youth particularly make the access. But it's even more difficult for innovations because most of the products have not enjoyed a lot of market spread. Did it? Okay, sorry about that. In terms of culture and community, let me move very quickly. We're trying to grow this culture of innovation within the country, and of course, helping young people understand that sometimes it's not just they don't have to be in the formal economy and sit in nice government jobs like some of you do, but that those innovations can be able to thrive even in the informal sector, and they can be able to market them. And this is something that we are working on. And one other thing is the perception of failure. A lot of the innovations, I'm sure if you've heard of the Silicon Valley stories, many innovations have failed many times before they actually came to success. And so we're trying to integrate the, to create or to correct the perception that failure is bad. Failure is actually good for people to be able to be given a chance more and more to be able to thrive. And that's a cultural aspect that has to be worked on. One of the other areas that, of course, this review looks at is policy and regulation. As I've indicated that, we have a lot of these policies in Kenya, but there is no specific policy that recognizes innovation on its own. As it were, right now we have so many agencies dealing in some way on innovation. But there's no centralized point or coordinating agency that deals with that. We have the Kenya National Innovation Agencies, and it deals with both ICT innovation, it deals with industrial innovations, all mixed, and there's no particular focus to this. So lack of these comprehensive mechanisms to engage innovators in Kenya actually make it very difficult for innovations to be nurtured. So in a bird's eye view, I would maybe go to this stakeholder interface canvas tool. In fact, Ida had introduced it, and this is something that has been used to map and at a glance give us a view of where we are at in terms of innovation in Kenya. So looking at, for instance, the very red areas, we are very poor when it comes to seed funding, angel financing, or venture capital. We perform very badly when it comes to research programs, lab programs, and even soft skills training, trade policies, and the area of intellectual property and research and development, which are very key if you want to strengthen any innovation ecosystem. So based on that, you know, we have looked at ourselves and decided that we need to revise the policy framework to support the digital entrepreneurship and also establish a strong, dedicated institution for digital innovation. In fact, the objective is to actually look at a central organization that can be able to coordinate innovation activities in the country. We can be able to guarantee the access, quality, and appropriateness critical sectors of the economy. And of course, we're looking at health, food, education, all those being very critical sectors. And lastly, to also develop support for this ecosystem through resources to improve entrepreneurial distribution and quality. For instance, the labs, the accelerators, incubators, and investors at all stages, right from pre-ideation and up to the time when innovations are scaled up too. And I won't go much into, I see my time is up, but just to mention that one of the other key areas that we will be looking at is the strengthening of the IP framework, because without a strong IP framework, then the innovations may not go far. In fact, we have cases where the innovations have been taken up by the big telcos or big farms, and the innovations have literally disappeared without the beneficiaries, I mean the innovators benefiting from it. I think I will stop there. That should be my last slide, and I hope that we can interact more so that you know about our innovation ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rahel Alhaula from Kenya, sharing how Kenya has implemented the ITU innovation framework. And you could see that their green spot was that they had a vision and strategy which gives hope that all the other red spots and the yellow spots could come to green in future, identifying their challenges and strategies to overcome them. We will take the final experience from Ghana, from Mr. Desmond Boateng, who will share with us briefly what is happening in Ghana, and we will take a couple of questions to round out this session. Mr. Boateng, let's welcome him.
Thank you very much, Kwame. I'm the last presenter, and fortunately or unfortunately for me, this morning I have my professor in our midst. So I'm very sure he's going to mark my scripts once again if I'm able to deliver. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to share the Ghana experience. When the first presenter made her presentation, she made us understand that one of the enablers for innovation is infrastructure. And so I will begin talking to you or to us about infrastructure, the infrastructure that we have in Ghana. We have fiber all over the place. We have laid fiber from the Eastern Corridor up to the northern part of the country and is connected to Burkina Faso and Togo. We also have metro fiber within Accra. And if you put all together, it's about 120 kilometers. We are also fortunate to have 5 marine sub-cables landing on our shores. And that is also about 13.3 terabytes that we have. And out of that, we having about 900 gigabytes, which is being made available to the nation. We also have 120 long-term evolution systems that are also helping us to provide internet services to the Ghanaian community. Still with infrastructure, it's important that we get our rural communities connected to the rest of the world. And so we have provided 241 community information centers across the country. These centers are meant to help the communities to be part of the rest of the world. And the most interesting thing is that our students in the rural communities go there to assess their results, do their registration, and assess their examination results. The farmers also go there to assess the prices for their commodities, and then also learn from the price of other countries as well. It's also important to let us understand that it's not everywhere that the telecom companies can provide service to. And so under our University Service Fund, the fund is providing what we call the Rural Telecom Project to over 1,200 communities are being provided with this mobile connectivity. Also in line with innovation activities, we are in the process to establish the ICT Park. The ICT Park is going to be a place where we'll have entrepreneurs getting places to develop whatever applications that they have to support the activities of the country. I also want to mention that we have a national data center, which is one of the largest in West Africa, and has a capacity of 600 racks to support data storage and retrieval. To also encourage innovation, we have, under the Universal Service Fund, 719 schools have been connected. And so you go to our schools, they have internet connectivity, and they are doing their own, developing their own applications as well through the internet connectivity and learning from the internet connection as well. Now, I'll move on to the e-applications or initiatives that we are implementing as a nation. We have a number of them that is being implemented. And the first one has to do with e-immigration. We need to speed up the entry of our visitors. If you come into the country, we need to facilitate or speed up your entry. And so we're deploying the e-immigration system. About 3 months ago, the e-gates were deployed. And so we hope to expand it so that the next time maybe you come, you will have easy access entry into the country. There will not be any hindrances. You will not spend so much time at the airport. We're also implementing the e-parliament system. We want our parliament to be a paperless parliament. And so that is one of the e-initiatives that we are implementing. We are also implementing what we call the e-procurement system. We all know, the challenges that we have when it comes to our procurement systems. And so we're partnering, or the ministry is procurement system that will, facilitate and speed up our procurement system, and also ensure that there is transparency in the procurement system. It's also important that when you go to our judicial systems, most of the times we send cases there, and if you have a case, you go and your docket is missing. and you can't find your docket is, cannot be traced. And if you don't take care, if your docket is not traced, you are likely to end up maybe in jail because, the judge cannot, look at your case and then decide whether you should go to jail or not. And so we are also implementing what we call the e-justice system to help speed the e-justice system to help speed up the adjudication of cases in our law courts. At Cabinet, we are also implementing the e-cabinet system. We want our cabinet ministers also to be able to work even from home and afar, wherever they are. And so that system is also being implemented. Previously, if you went to register your company, it took you some days for you to be able to get your certificate. And now we have relaunched the e-certificate. And so now you can even sit in the comfort of your home and then register your company. And within 24 hours, you can get the e-copy of your certificate. Now, one important initiative that we are implementing is what we call the National Digital Property Addressing System, which was launched last year, October, by the President. This is also one of the initiatives that is to help, formalize the economy of this country. And linked up to this is all what we call the National Identification Card, which is currently in progress, and citizens are being registered. And so the ND Pass, or the National Digital Property Addressing System, is linked to the National Digital Property National Identification Card, which is going to serve as a transactional tool for the citizens of this country. We are also implementing what we call the digital financial inclusion. Under the Universal Access Fund, GIFEC is also implementing what we call the digital financial inclusion, where the rural communities have been provided with kiosks and tablets to be able to use it to connect and then provide mobile money services to the rural communities. And this is also going a long way to address about 8 out of the 17 sustainable development goals that we are implementing, in addition to the mobile money activities that are currently ongoing in the country. Also, as part of the preparation towards the innovation activities, we are currently preparing to have MLab and iLab established in Accra and Kumasi, and we are doing this together with the academia, the University of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. One of the things that we're also doing has to do with digital for inclusion. It's a smart community project that is being implemented, where the communities are provided with affordable Wi-Fi internet services, and for them to be able to connect to the rest of the world. Yes, and by 2020, we're expecting that about one of the 180 sites of these communities will be connected to the internet and to the rest of the world. One other thing that we are also doing, we have also established what we call the Accra Digital Center, which is also a facility that is also being used to host entrepreneurs. And so you could go there, and if you have those skills, you go in there, and then you are allocated a place, and then you can be able to begin to develop whatever applications that you also have. I think that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Desmond Boateng, for sharing with us what is going on in the innovation space in Ghana. So to round up, we will take a couple of questions. We've had presentation from the ITU on the innovation framework and Zimbabwe, telling us how they've taken up innovation with a model, with a facility of funding for their citizens to apply online. Côte d'Ivoire shared their experiences on applications that are being used in the country. Kenya telling us about how they have assessed themselves in the country review on the ITU ecosystem model, and Ghana sharing their experiences. So we will take a couple of questions before we round out this session. So I see Cote d'Ivoire, I see Ghana. So I will take just a couple. In the center, okay, I'll take Chad and I take Cote d'Ivoire, I take Ghana. So Cote d'Ivoire, please go ahead.
Ok, merci à tous. Ma question s'adresse au... Ma question va s'adresser au monsieur le délégué du Ghana. Je voudrais savoir comment est-ce que, concernant le volet connexion des écoles, la fait état de la connexion de 719 écoles, je voudrais savoir financer la connexion de ces écoles-là. Comment ça se fait dans la pratique? Merci.
Right. I don't know whether the question was clear to Ghana.
The question wasn't too clear. Or maybe the interpreters, I don't know.
Yeah, so the question was that how did Ghana connect the 700 schools? Did operators play a part?
Can I answer? Okay. You know, we have the universal service obligation. And so we have a fund, which is the universal access fund. And so the connectivity was done through the universal access fund.
Great. So we take the question from Chad quickly.
Okay. Merci, modérateur. Je venais de suivre avec passion la présentation des innovations des pays modèles, que je dirais. C'est plein de choses. Mais la question que je voudrais un peu poser, c'est à tout le monde et à la salle. Comment on pourrait en fait harmoniser tout ce qui est innovation, parce que chaque pays essaie de venir avec des idées, des réalisations, mais qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire comme plateforme pour savoir que voilà, à partir du Tchad, je sais que telle innovation est en train de se faire au Tchad et que ça a été déjà développé et voire même conquis dans un autre pays comme le Kenya. Comment pourront-on faire pour arriver à ce genre d'innovation? Merci.
Question is for you, so Ida will answer.
Thank you very much, Chad. I think your question actually just comes back to my presentation from the IT on the harmonization, on all these innovations that are going on in the different countries. How do you access all this information? And that is what the country review does. That's what the innovative ecosystem country review of the ITU does. And you know, some of the products that I also explained in my presentation, we could actually see a situation where we have like an index of all the countries that we have performed country reviews for, to actually give you their country profiles when it comes to innovations, and actually have also a list of the innovative services that these countries have come up with. And this access would be open to all countries in Africa to be able to access. So for example, if you wanted to learn from the example of Kenya, let's say, or you wanted to learn from the example of Cote d'Ivoire or Zimbabwe, you could actually access this portal and click on their country review and see what it is they're doing, what their country review is, and also go back to that slide that tells you what are the building blocks for the ecosystem. What do they have? What is in green? Like for Kenya, they have the strategy and the policy, but all the others, some are in development and some are gaps. You'll be able to appreciate this. And this is where we're heading to at the ITU.
Thank you. So we will take our final question from an innovator in Ghana, and he has a question. Please go ahead. You can introduce your company and what you do so that this innovation people can also know what you do.
Thank you very much. My name is Emmanuel Ansan Profi, and I run a company called Trotro Tractor. Trotro Tractor basically makes tractor services and other machinery available to smallholder farmers using technology. So with the use of feature phone and USSD, a farmer in Ghana, anywhere in Ghana, can access a tractor at the comfort of his home or his farm. My question basically goes to complement what the NCA is doing in Ghana. And I think it is something that we need support from the ecosystem to scale up. There's a lot of these innovations currently happening, and we will urge NCA and then the ministry to bring the various startups within this ecosystem together as a way of not just showing what they are having, but also help them to scale. Also, there's a lot of this innovation happening, and I rightly remember Madam saying that some of these innovations, as Madam from Kenya was saying, that some of these innovations are being bought from outside the continent and they are killing them. It is happening as we're going at the moment because people within our various countries are not supporting, or investors are not supporting these startups to bring out those innovations. Mind you, the outside world will buy it and they might kill the dream. So we urge various member states, especially those in Africa, to help scale these startups and then bring these innovations to life. If Facebook were to have happened in Africa, I'm not sure we will be where we are. So we need that support from the ecosystem to thrive. I commend what NCA is doing, and they should do more. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your thoughts on this. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the multi-stakeholder roundtable on innovation and partnerships in delivering the regional initiatives. We had a presentation from Ms. Aida Jallo of the ITU. We had Mr. Zimbabwe, Ms. Awala from Kenya, Mr. Boateng from Ghana, and Mr. Authoriy from La Côte d'Ivoire. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for making this session a very exciting one. And thank you as well, ladies and gentlemen, for your participation in this session. I hand over to the chair of the forum to take over.
Thank you, Mr. Bacham, for. I thought you're going to give them a big clap. Another big one, another big one. By the way, Mr. Authoriy, right? Authoriy, is that it? Answer Profi. Okay, I think we're going to have you on the next session. Okay, give you about 5-10 minutes. Do you have any presentation? Yeah? Okay. So that you can explain to us the forward tractor, how it works. Okay. But if you've been following the discussion so far, it's what? Innovation, right? Innovation, innovation. But one thing that is very clear that technology drives what? Innovation. This is an old saying out there, that technology drives innovation. Technology drives what? Innovation. And in companies that are innovative, they has what? The largest market share.